Hey everyone, co-host Peter Cook here. I'm recording this intro in a closet in my apartment in Kalamazoo, Michigan, because co-host Jeremy says that there is too much echo in the high-ceilinged room that I sometimes record from on our episodes. He's probably right. He's a really good sound engineer. He's taught me a lot. Anyway, we are on our season break. We just ended season 6, and soon, come this October 2025, we will debut season 7 of I'd Buy That for $1. But in the meantime, we will be airing some rewinds of classic episodes. But this week, we have decided to unlock a Patreon episode. And the one that we have chosen is a recent one where we discussed how to release a record. This is me leading the way as I detail how I put out a split 7-inch with a former band of mine, so all will be told soon. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you for season 7 in October. Toodaloo.
Zuck's got your account on lockdown. You're getting too wild out there.
Could be. That is possible.
Are you buck wild and in fact a flip child? Be honest.
Let's get more Longmont for a cold open.
Welcome to I'd Buy That for $1, a podcast about inexpensive, common, and underappreciated records that are waiting to be rediscovered. I'm your host, Sean Hartman, former DIY promoter and former co-owner of Already Dead Tapes and Records.
Oh, just dropping some truth.
Wait,
As I always do, we've been over this.
everything's true.
That messes with my head. Okay, well, I'm co-host Jeremy. I'm not well, clearly, and that's because I got the spider bite on my hand, and I thought we might have to break up the podcast.
Oh, no, but you said you thought, meaning we don't.
No, it's just a spider bite, not a big deal.
That's a bad thing, but a good song. It's a catchy song by the band Boring People.
You know, I'd have to agree. It's a good song. And a bad thing. I gotta agree on both points.
I'm glad on a premium episode we can all agree on that.
This is where we really come together.
I was going for the Flaming Lips song. Is there another spider bite song?
Yeah, we'll talk. Well, we're not talking about that song, but we'll talk about the band who sings that other Spider Bite song in just a moment. But first of all, I am co-host Peter Cook, and I'm kind of entering my shameless self-promotion phase of the podcast here, guys.
I'm here for it. Tell the people what you got going on. Let them know.
Yeah, let's get right into it. Then you know what? I dropped a truth for this premium episode as well. So just a little peek behind the curtain, the torn curtain for you Instagram followers. Jeez, Jeremy doesn't like my punny shameless self-promotion.
I was shaking my head for the record.
Well, Sean, you have made that joke before about my Instagram handle.
No.
I was really struggling to prepare an episode on a 45 this week. Just very busy with my work life. This podcast does not pay the bills, sadly. I mean, you Patreon subscribers are doing your best to help this podcast stay afloat. But all of us do have to work outside of this, and I just didn't have the time to put something together that I felt would be premium content for you subscribers. And then I had the idea of, well, what if we talk about a 45 that I've released, the whole experience I went through in releasing a 45. And that's why we're here today to talk about the 2015 release on Already Dead Tapes and Satellite Records, jointly released on both those labels. It is a split 7-inch by regular fucked up people and boring people. I think without saying too much more, it's pretty obvious why these bands decided to do a split 7-inch together. They're both people bands. Also, we played some shows together and got along. I was in the band Boring People. Regular Fucked Up People was a Chicago band consisting of Anthony Focaretto, Dina Moore, and Dylan Kelly. Anthony and Dylan were in a band that was associated with Already Dead Tapes called The New Diet. Later, they were known as Longface. I think the two of you are well familiar with both of those bands.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I saw them both many times.
I think I got a long face record, full LP.
Yeah, the Longface album is incredible. They really hit something special with that album. I mean, The New Diet was great too, but that Longface stuff really floored me. Anyway, this was another project that Anthony and Dylan had with Dina. We played some shows together in Kalamazoo. Pretty quickly, I think it was Anthony who proposed we do a split 7-inch, maybe after we had done 2 shows together. And it was an opportunity for us to release something. Boring People were really struggling with getting any of our stuff properly recorded and released, especially physically released. So that was just something that we were like, yeah, a band wants to do a split 7-inch with us. That's great. Now the Boring People had come around in, I think it was the end of 2012, beginning of 2013. Guy who worked with my now wife, Ellen Wallace Lucas. They worked at a grocery store together, and he had asked her to do some artwork for something he was just putting out digitally online, an EP, and she had no idea like how good of a songwriter and musician he was. She showed it to me, and I thought, well, this, Kalamazoo has a nice, thriving DIY scene. This guy should try his hand at playing out shows. I'm not doing anything musically right now. I'm just doing college. So I reached out to him, and we put together a band. We ended up having bassist Royce Fekrick in the band, as well as drummer Robbie Carter as well by the time of this release. Yeah, it was there's a whole story of how it came together. But before we really get into that, do we want to listen to the A side, the regular Fucked Up People song?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So this is Brindle Bunny Killa by Regular Fucked Up People.
And I just want to say that this is at 45 RPM. It's one of the biggest regrets of my life that we did not put the speed on the label of this 7-inch.
Yes, Sean had a hand in releasing this, and we'll talk more about that when we come back. Love that noise solo on that song.
Yeah, that like outro is like one of my favorite parts of the song. It's like the section where you would think it's about to go into some kind of over the top solo, but it just starts to fall apart and just get weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Anthony has an incredible way with structuring a very well crafted song and then just putting chaos into the middle of it. That song, apparently, there's a little note in the liner notes. You know, they gave us this song when we were putting together the split 7-inch, and I didn't have much context for what it was, but in the notes, it seems to be, at the time, Anthony and Dina were a couple, and it seems to be about their dog, the Bessie, who it says, "Bessie, you're the continual inspiration to obsessively tap into your neurotic desires. In your case, the instincts to have a cup of tea with a street rabbit." So yeah, you hear them saying rabbit habit. I think it's about their dog chasing rabbits around Chicago.
Cool.
Yeah, tap into inspiration where you get it. Yeah, Sean, so you just said before we listened to this that one of the biggest regrets of your life is that we did not put the speed, the RPM speed, on the label. You ended up selling this record through Satellite Records when you were an employee there in Satellite Records in Kalamazoo. Did it frequently come up? Did people listen to this at the wrong speed?
First off, I was the manager, not just an employee.
Okay, fair enough. Well,
Put some respect on his name, Peter.
Yeah, I was your boss at one point. Don't you forget it.
well, I still feel like you are my boss sometimes, especially with that attitude.
Good.
Yes, so you were the manager at Satellite Records, and this was the first release on Satellite Records. It's the 157th release on Already Dead, so Already Dead was very deep into the catalog already, but this was the first release that Satellite put out.
Yeah, one of the big things we wanted to do with the store was have it be like very deeply ingrained with the community of Kalamazoo. When we changed locations and renamed it from Corner Record Shop to Satellite Records, it moved to a part of town that's like closer to a lot more of the student housing, closer to where all the house venues are. So we would host shows in the store, and I wanted to have more releases of local bands. At one point we were dreaming of trying to reissue like older Kalamazoo related albums, but that never happened. But yeah, we wanted to be the cool record store in the heart of it all that put out vinyl and cassette releases for some of the best local Kalamazoo acts.
Yeah, this the mid 2010s to have a local record store doing something like that it's not, I don't know that's a common thing across the United States in the mid 2010s. So it was something special. Sort of the heavily student populated area, like you said, where there's a lot of house venues and local bands performing in the immediate vicinity surrounding that store.
Yep.
So going back to my original question, yeah, I'm curious about this regret. So did it come up often that people were playing at the wrong speed?
I don't know if that came up very often. I just find it very frustrating when records don't have the speed written on the label, especially if it's a speed that you might not expect. And yeah, I think we failed to put the speed on like multiple releases, including the 12-inch release that was cut at 45. It doesn't say that for the Spelling Bee LP. That's my number one regret. My second regret is this one. At least this is cut like a classic 45, so you might assume that it's at 45 speed.
So that's something I wanted to address, is that was when you were helping me put this together, because you had some experience with getting records pressed and I had zero. You were insistent that we do the larger center hole so it would require an adapter. You said it just looks stupid on 45s when they have the small hole. you were very insistent on that, and then it would come up frequently that people would be like, "Oh, but I didn't have a 45 adapter." Well, you get one; they're 25 cents.
Exactly. Even if you have to buy a disposable one and just keep it with your boring people 7-inch, it's fine.
Yeah, so that was funny. That came up a few times. But I'm glad we went with that. It looks cool. I like the large hole in the center.
It's just a more classic look,
Yeah.
and it's objectively better in every way.
Yeah. Especially with the label on that is, I think, intended. Does that replicate a little bit is it the Atlantic, or is it it's kind of, it seems like it's replicating the label that Josh Tabia designed for that.
Yeah, the design for the vinyl version of the Already Dead logo is kind of a Atlantic Records ripoff.
Yeah. This was intended originally to be when we were still at the old location, but you were manager there and I was an employee at the old location.
Thank you.
Yes. I will honor that from here on out. When we were still Corner Record Shop, this was intended to be released for Record Store Day in April 2014. The owner of Corner Record Shop was going to foot the bill for the cost of pressing. Then that offer was withdrawn, and the split 7-inch sat dormant for several months. It wasn't until I started school, went to proper university in the fall of 2014, that I had some extra money, some student loan money to burn. And that's when I got the ball rolling. This is what people do. This is why people go back to school, right? So they can take that student loan money and put it towards their passion projects.
Yeah, I mean, if they're smart about it, if they're really investing in their future.
I'm going to report you to the government.
I'm paying it back slowly. So as I said, Sean helped me with just some of how do you do this? Where do I go? And we ended up going with Gotta Groove Records out of Cleveland, Ohio, as the pressing plant. The outer sleeve was printed at Superior Imaging Print Mill in Kalamazoo. You had to do both those things. I think you recommended them as well, Sean.
Yeah, that was like the downtown print shop.
It was out on Portage Road, going out towards Portage, actually. For our, getting very local with our references here for all our patrons across the world here. Yeah, of course, then I had to realize, we need the pressing plant wants the design of the label in advance, in order to move ahead. Like, they needed everything before they would even put us in their queue. Now, at this time, I think it only took a few months, maybe 3 months at most, between placing the order, getting them the label design, which took a little time because Josh Tabia, Already Dead, was in the middle of preparing for the annual Already Dead family reunion right about then, and he had no time to design the labels, so that took a few weeks to get that. But I think it only took about maybe 3 months from the time we officially placed the order to getting the test pressing and then giving them the go-ahead to do the 300 copies. We ended up doing 300 copies of this because it's 2 bands that are sharing this along with the record store as well. It was I think 100 copies or so for each group involved. Then there was the label as well, so we probably had to divide it up even more. And I still have 25 or so copies in the drawer right next to me while I'm doing this.
They're just appreciating in value.
Yeah. I did look right before we started, and there are several copies for this on sale for very cheap on Discogs. And there are, hold on, I still have it right here, 23 people who have this and 5 people who want it. It does have an average rating of 5 out of 5. However, and that's 2 ratings that get that 5 out of 5. However, there is no median value because
one is you.
Yeah, possibly. There's no median value because it's never sold on Discogs.
Nobody wants to resell their copy.
Yeah, that's
a good sign.
There you go, Jeremy. Wow, you have a way of looking at the bright side of things, don't you, Jeremy? That seems
I get that a lot.
On brand for you.
Jeremy, what's the median Discogs value on your last album?
I don't make music. Don't look me up.
One of my favorite activities is to look up records I've been a part of on Discogs and then see which friends I gave a copy to are trying to offload it for a couple bucks.
Oh yeah, you can see if they're selling it.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel, Sean?
Oh, just warm and fuzzy every time.
So anyway, yeah, we had to do like a stuffing party to, fold the sleeves and get the records into the little. They came in we put it in a plastic sleeve with liner notes and the nicely printed outer sleeve. I think Anthony and Josh handled the regular fucked up people side of the artwork, and Rory Svekrick from Boring People handled the artwork on our side. Looks really nice. I hadn't really looked at a copy and opened one up in a long time until I was prepping for doing this. I'm like, wow, we really put some care into this. Yeah, looks nice. Looks professional. And of course, we played some release shows. We played a Kalamazoo release show, and it ended up releasing in January of 2015. And so we played a Kalamazoo show, and it's of course Midwest winter that we're dealing with. We a few weeks later played 2 shows in Chicago. On the same day, we played a record store in the afternoon. I don't recall the name of the record store, but then we ended up playing a DIY space in Logan Square called Wally's World later that night. Did either of you ever play Wally's World or hear of that venue in Chicago?
I'm pretty sure I played there.
It was under the Blue Line on West Belden, like the L train in Chicago, and it had these thick plaster walls. It was like a former office space. I remember getting there, and Josh Tabia, at the time, you and Josh were the kind of the co-owners of Already Dead, right, Sean?
Yeah, Josh was always the main guy behind it, though.
Yeah, he was doing a lot of the tape duplication and graphic design and artwork for the label, correct?
Yeah. I helped out with a few releases early on, usually kind of poorly, but my main contribution was putting together the annual festival, the Already Dead Family Reunion.
Yeah, which you did for close to 10 years, right?
Yeah, I think we did 9 of them.
Yeah.
That and like a lot of early bands in the label were people that I had met on tour.
So you went around scouting.
Yeah, I was kind of like an A&R guy / promoter.
Yeah, there ended up being a lot of bands associated with Already Dead. It was a little community. It was, those festivals were always cool. It started to be like a little family reunion.
That was the idea.
So we arrived at the second venue, the Wally's World, and it was like 9:30 or 10 o'clock Chicago time that we got there. And for those who may not know, Chicago time is 1 hour behind Michigan time. So for us who have traveled to Chicago from Michigan that day, it's already feeling like 11 o'clock to us. And it seemed like there were some people living at the venue and they were just waking up at that time. And Josh said, yeah, I've gotten here, 9:30, 10 o'clock for some shows. And I can tell the people are just waking up and having their breakfast burritos for an all-nighter. He said things would go there till the early morning. So I think we played, we were playing like a 4 or 5 band bill that night, and we went on maybe third. So it's like midnight Chicago time that we're playing, getting done at 1 o'clock. So it's like 2 a.m. in our bodies, and we have to drive back to Kalamazoo, which is about 2.5, 3 hours. Oh, it was a wild and crazy night, but it was a fun release show. So it was 10 years ago now. 34-year-old Peter could handle it. I don't know, 44-year-old Peter, that sounds like quite the undertaking.
Yeah, you're not still doing that anymore?
No, I'm... it's 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. I don't have social energy anymore.
Fair.
I'm heading towards bed.
Now, did you also clock into work at like 4 a.m. the day after that Chicago gig, or did you give yourself a day off? Do you remember? No,
I was doing that when a couple years earlier, when you and I were in Forget the Times together. I was still working that early 4 a.m. shift. By this time, I was back in school and had quit doing that. I was only working weekends normally, and not at that time. I had finally freed myself of that punishing 4 a.m. shift, which, funny enough, there was one person I knew who had to be at work earlier than I did at the time, and that was co-host Jeremy. He had to be at work at 3 a.m.
Yeah, that was the worst time of my life.
Yeah, we would be at things together, and you always had that on me. You're like, yeah, well, I got to be in at 3.
Yeah.
I'd be like, wow. Okay.
Sean lorded his manager status, and I lorded my wake up time, I guess.
You guys just both had that over me. Well, how's about we play the Boring People song, the band that I was in?
Let's do it.
Let's hear it.
So this is called Gwen's, and it was written by Wallace Lucas, who was the primary songwriter in Boring People. You might just get a hint of the fact that he is a huge Weezer fan from this. Let's listen to Gwen's by Boring People.
Side B, track 1.
I'm always waiting for your call.
I gotta say, I think that guitarist might be a big Weezer fan too.
Possibly even a Pavement fan.
Yeah.
Well, there's two distinct soloists in that song. The first solo that's basically in the middle of the song after the first chorus. That is Wallace shredding, and he is double tracked. He really liked double tracking things, and it sounds great. And then the second solo in the outro that's me, that fast tremolo picking, the very Pavement sounding, the kind of stuff I used to sometimes do when I played with Sean in Forget the Times, because the Dead Sea sometimes, who was a big inspiration on Forget the Times, the New Zealand noise rock band, the Dead Sea, they also do a lot of that tremolo picking at times. That was recorded by another member of Forget the Times, a long-standing member of Forget the Times, Josh Miller. He was the engineer behind that, and he recorded that at Millhouse in Kalamazoo, Michigan, which I'm sure both of you don't need any explanation on Millhouse, but I think our listeners might. Millhouse was actually a house venue run by our bassist in Boring People at the time, Royce Vekrick, who also played in several other local bands at the time. And they put on some great shows there with some pretty major touring bands, like Speedy Ortiz played there several times, as well as Pale Hound. And there's so many. It's going back a long ways. Pile played there. Did both of you guys play there?
Oh, many times. Yeah.
Yeah, probably a dozen times myself in different bands.
And recorded at least one album there, probably more.
Yeah, the basement actually had pretty good sound and acoustics there. I'm really happy with how that recording sounds. Josh, funny enough, our rhythm guitars on that, Wallace and mine, our rhythm guitars, we double tracked them. And I don't know if this was intentional or not, but Josh actually, which means for those not in the know, that means that we doubled them up. We recorded, one take and then recorded another and put those takes on top of each other. But Josh actually put, if my guitar, my initial take was in the left channel and Wallace's was in the right, on the overdubs, the second tracking, he flipped them. And there's slight differences. Overall, we're playing pretty similar things, but a few different voicings of chords and whatnot. So they're kind of like echoing in the little differences between those two are echoing in both channels at once, which is a technique I had never heard of before, but I really like it. It really fills out. It sounds like a very big recording as a result of that. And then we sent it off to Kalamazoo sound wizard Mike Schur to be mastered for vinyl, because we found out you have to master things, have them EQ'd properly for vinyl. They have to be done differently than they would for a digital release because of the way bass affects the needle in the groove on vinyl. Is that the correct reasoning for that?
That's my understanding of it.
As none of us being, Jeremy's the biggest audio wizard of us, but I don't know how in the know he is on mastering for vinyl.
Yeah, I know that on a full LP, the closer you get to the center, the less bright the sound is. So you have to compensate.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, other than that, you just want to make sure the kick drum and the bass are in the middle so they don't kick the needle out of the groove.
It can happen. Mike was so kind. He's a great engineer, really nice guy. He actually just recently recorded the Kalamazoo Drone Society LP 6 and 7 that was recently released. Got to work with Mike Schur again for that. But he ended up, we had a request of him to bring out the snare a little. For some reason, the snare just wasn't popping. And he sends us this master track with this incredible sounding snare. It really jumped out. And I'm like, well, what did you do? He's like, well, I actually just manually inserted a snare sample on top of every single snare hit. So it took me a lot longer than I initially planned, but here you go.
Wow.
Yeah, that was incredible that he took the time to do that, but it made all the difference in just how how happy we were with the end result of the track. And I mean, Josh did a great job on production. It was just one thing that we had just for some reason hadn't been able to capture, a good snare, solid snare that jumped out of the track like we wanted it to. So it's always great getting people like that in your corner when you're trying to put out something like this. All in all, from the time that this split 7-inch was conceived, like a drunken conversation between Anthony and I at a show sometime in 2013, late 2013. It was released in January of 2015. It was almost a year and a half that it took of just pushing forward to get this out. It felt like a real labor of love.
These things often are.
Well, we've all released vinyl. You guys have, Sean. You've done several LPs that way.
Yeah, Forget the Times had 2 LP releases. The second one was recorded and mastered by Mike Schur.
Yeah, I guess you've done more cassettes than LPs, haven't you?
Yeah, quite a few cassettes.
And Jeremy doesn't make music, so we won't.
Yeah, don't look him up.
Radical is not his brand, in fact.
True. I'm an accountant.
Isn't that your brother?
Oh,
We don't need to go there.
don't look him up either.
Well, anyway, that's the story of how the regular fucked up people, boring people split 7-inch came together, and you can find it online. You can listen to it on YouTube. It is uploaded there. You can order a copy from Discogs. And that's that, guys. I mean, it was fun talking about some music that I was involved in creating.
Yeah, and we now officially have the latest record ever covered on the show, 2015.
Yeah. Wow, that's true. We're really, that's less than, it'll be, by the time this comes out, it'll be just under 10 years.
Yeah, wow. We're really expanding our scope with this one. I like it.
So you guys think about what music you've made that you want to cover on future Patreon episodes, and we'll see everyone next time around. Thank you for listening. I am co-host Peter Cook.
I'm co-host Jeremy.
And I'm co-host Sean.